today we are going to be talking about this guy right here, Carter G. Woodson. I actually haven't read this book. I should have read this book for a class that I did not pass. But we'll talk about that later. But this is Carter G. Woodson, and he was essentially the founder of Black History Month. Black History Month actually started as a week in February, the second week in February, and it was called Negro History Week. He is often referred to as the father of Black history. Carter was born in 1875 to former enslaved parents in the U.S. He was a pretty extraordinary man. He kind of had his toe dipped in a little bit of everything. He was American historian, an author, a journalist, and he also founded the Association for the Study of African American Life and History. He was one of the first scholars to study the history of the African American diaspora. He believed that Black people should be proud of their heritage and where they come from. He also believed that all Americans should understand the largely overlooked achievements of Black Americans. He dedicated his life to broadcast this belief. He was second of that only to W.E.B. Du Bois to graduate with a PhD degree from Harvard University. So, Black History Month started in 1926 by Woodson, and it started as a week, the second week of February to be exact, and it was called Negro History Week. Woodson noticed that there were almost no mentions of Black people in the history books, and if there was, it was misrepresented. Carter wanted to change this and dedicated his career to Black history. Woodson picked the second week of February to celebrate Black History Week, or Negro History Week, because of two people's birthdays that was in this month. The first one was Abraham Lincoln, who was born on February 12th. Abraham Lincoln was revered and celebrated by the Black community mainly because of the Emancipation Proclamation, which declared enslaved people free in 1863. The second person whose birthday inspired this week was Frederick Douglass. Frederick Douglass was a runaway slave. He did not know when his actual birthday was, so he chose to pick the day as February 14th. Frederick Douglass was the national leader of the abolition movement, and he was also an author and famous for his anti-slavery writings. These two were thought to be very pivotal figures in helping the plight of freedom for African Americans. Woodson believed that teaching Black history was important to ensure the physical and intellectual survival of the race. He said that if a race has no history, it has no worthwhile tradition. It becomes an unimportant factor in the world, and it stands in danger of being exterminated. Woodson hoped that Black history would become so ingrained in American history that Black History Week or month would no longer be needed. He had two objectives in creating Negro History Week. The first was to prove white Americans that Black played an important role in the creation of American history and deserved to be treated as equal citizens. And two, to increase the visibility of Black life and history at a time when media were portraying Black communities negatively, with anti-Black racist imagery like Black caricatures, blackface shows, and films like The Jazz Singer. Black History Month later became recognized by Gerald Ford in 1976. This was followed by every other president except Trump, of course. Black History Month is an annual observance originating in the U.S., dedicated to promoting achievements by Black Americans and other people of African descent. The origins date back to 1915, half a century after the 13th Amendment abolished slavery in the U.S. It's a time set aside each month to celebrate the achievements of Black people from past and present. In the US, that month is February. A lot of people have a hard time understanding the need of Black History Month, besides it literally being the shortest month of the year. But I digress. It's nice to have a time dedicated where I can just lay my guard down and just celebrate myself and people who look like me. Our people have been fighting for so long. February is just a month where myself, and as well as people who look like me, can just celebrate and authentically learn about ourselves and our history, and just be fully recognized for our achievements and our strifes. It's a time of month where I see myself represented everywhere. It's a time for all of us to come together and just say, I'm here, and I'm happy and proud to be a part of this community. With the educational system being the way that it is today, it's hard to learn about your own history. You know, you have to go out and organically learn your own history yourself. You know, it's nice to have a time where we can collectively all come together and just appreciate where we come from and what people had to do to get us where we are today. I understand people's qualms about having a month to celebrate Black history. I mean, we should all be celebrating Black history every single day. And I'll admit, I struggle doing this even myself, and I need to work to rectify this. And that's gonna take time and dedication on my part. But it's still nice to, it's just still nice to have a dedicated time where I can celebrate myself and others can celebrate me as well. As I've said in a past video, I'm not always the best at celebrating myself. So it's nice to have a dedicated time where I can do that and just feel proud of my heritage and where I come from. And it's also nice to have other people celebrate you every once in a while and just recognize your achievements and the achievements of the people who came before you. It's nice knowing that you have that time.